Some use captured infield, spring fields. This is your musket here. So history of in America of firearms, in the Revolutionary War, you have a flintlock, right? You know, you have the pan that you put the powder in, and then you put the powder down the barrel, and then the ramrod to ram the projectile, the bullet, down the barrel. So by the time the Civil War had come around, 1830s, 1840s, they had fixed half the problem. Flintlocks were great unless it rained, unless it was windy, and it blew this out. So they had encapsulated the charge with a cap, right? So this is half of that. You know, beginnings of close to modern warfare. Now you have the shell and everything's in it. The bullet, the projectile, everything is through there. So this is one of the key features. These things were much more accurate than flintlocks. And at the Civil War, you start to see that for snipers especially, have rifling in their barrel. So instead of a ball, a 75 caliber ball dropping and going out, you have a 58 caliber shell that with grooves in it that's rifling its way downrange. Still Napoleonic tactics though, with these big armies standing next to each other, firing into each other, and that part had not changed since the Revolution. And the siege warfare in Petersburg, the trenches was a piece of that. Is that understanding that, hey, this isn't working out, we're suffering too many casualties, we need to figure something else out. So this is the typical leather gear of a Confederate soldier at that time. You have a cap box, you have a powder box right here, you have your bayonet, and you have your musket. You'd have other accoutrements on. If you're in the field, of course, a canteen, a haversack. If you were lucky enough to have a tent, a lot of times Confederate soldiers, 4 or 5 people to a tent, right? The tents are tight, but you'd have a roll blanket. You'd have much more gear, but I'm doing this for a demonstration, obviously. So we'll go ahead and show you how this would have been. Good soldiers at the time, 3 rounds per minute, sometimes more in case there's hostile situations or you've got to. So the first thing you would do is put your powder down your barrel, right? And then you would ram it with a ball. Reenactors, we don't dare pull our ramrod out. It's too much of a safety risk. There's tons of field checks beforehand because some people use them to hunt. So we always discharge our weapon multiple times before reenactment. And that's for safety. And then you go into the field with it clean, just like you would as a soldier, right? So I'll put this in my pocket, but they would just rip it and throw it on the ground, right? Then they put their cap on, and there would be an order to fire. Everything here would be orders, prime and load. And then it would be ready, aim, fire of some sort. So we're going to do that. We're at half cock always until we're ready to fire for safety. But everything then is very much in formations, tight formations, tight. You're firing sometimes by battalion, sometimes by company, sometimes by front row, back row. These are all different types of situations. A lot of times people also 3 bands. They call it 3 band. That's 1, 2, 3. That's what that means. 2 banders, cavalry. Sometimes they would have a shorter one with less, so that it would be easier to take around on a horse. So this is your typical weapon that Johnny Reb and Billy Yank would have fired at that time. This one here is considerably old. Seen a lot of reenactments and stuff. So we're going to fire here, and we'll show you what that looks like when you've seen the commands and everything. So all that is the way that it would have been, except for it didn't ram a barrel, right? So go ahead and aim and fire. And so just the cap went off. That's not good. So we're going to try this one more time. So you'll get
I wouldn't know.
double for your money here. But that goes to show you how finicky these things were, right? Flintlocks were worse. These are a little better at that time, but you see, still didn't fire right there. So we're going to put another cap and some more powder in there, and we'll try it. So we've got a malfunction here. We'll take a look at that. It may just need to be cleaned. That's the gist of it, and that's a firing demonstration of that time period. So I guess we'll grab a lantern and we'll head back. Do you have any questions? We can take them here before we start walking.
Is that one of the witness trees you mentioned?
Yes. Look at the circumference of that at the base, right? And then that's one of them, and there's a big one up there too. And there's been many more that have died since then. There were some more trees down here in this holler at that time. But they say you sycamores are always near water.
Yeah.
And you see how it winds down through here
Yeah.
from the road. This funnels to Meadowbrook. Meadowbrook is on the other side of these train tracks, right behind here. Those train tracks. That wasn't here during the war. It was here in the 1880s. But that goes there, dumps into Cedar Creek. So Battle of Cedar Creek, that's what we're talking about. This dumps in there. Confederates crossed that twice to attack the Yankees. So imagine how cold, foggy. When the Confederates did that attack, they took off anything that clanked, plates, canteens, anything that made noise. They wanted to have the utmost surprise as when they attacked the Yankees. So they left a lot of their stuff. So they were exhausted by the time they got to the college. They had marched all night since like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. When they started their attack, they didn't have a lot of their supplies. So that's why the food was hard to pass up and everything. So.
Hey, Daddy, I hear these shit that die.
Yeah. You're at half of it. It's still going twice as loud.
What?
Yeah.
3 times the
Any other questions?
What?
What's in the mansion now?
It's a private home. It belongs to Bill and Barbara Houtershell. It was many things. It was a group home for people with disabilities in the 70s and 80s. And so that was kind of a beautiful thing. They were very involved in town and wonderful people. And and there was big parties there in the 80s and 90s that belonged. There was some big reenactment parties. Pictures of Katie Couric there when she worked in Washington, D.C. As a reporter. We had Richard Dreyfuss reenact here. He was in several Hollywood actors, several movies. He reenacted, I think it was 1990, and he was at a party there and wanted to get involved and participate. Great article in the British Star about it at the time. But big parties, private residence, they're doing very good taking care of it. They have 5 acres, but the problem is you got commercial behind them. The data center, you got commercial to Thermo Fisher, but everything, and 81 behind them, right? 81 separated that place as farm. So 81 behind that, and then 66 interchange right behind that too. So, but everything across here is still preserved, and you get some of the best daggone sunsets right here at this mountain. So Schaefer's Barbecue there, and so it's just interesting because the next parcel over, I'm sure you guys read about a truck dealership that's coming.
Yeah.
Steel Dog. The land is zone commercial beside them. So, and their zone commercial, even though it's a private residence. And so, I don't know if you read that, they wanted to change the zoning to residential to not allow somebody to buy it and tear it down and then do commercial. So that's part of the problem, is that is zone commercial, and the land beside it obviously was, and that was sold way back that had those rights. So it'll be hemmed in, it'll be this beautiful house hemmed in. But,
Where's the truck stop going in?
not trucks, truck dealership. We've tried very hard to fix that messaging. It's brand new truck sales. Ideally they won't be 18-wheelers. There's no fuel sales, right? It'll be just new truck sales, which will be like $500,000, right? So hopefully that'll help.
That beyond waiting.
No, to the right of it, that gap across from Schaefer's Barbecue. You see the barbecue pit? You see that field right there? So there's a 10-acre lot there. And what the owner's coming out of Monte Vista right now, it looks like. So so there you go. Great place. They host garden club parties this day. Nice place. Any other questions? We're gonna walk back. All right, you guys want to grab a lantern and back if you want. You don't have to, but just adds to it.
Gonna fall.
We'll begin our walk back. Stick to the trail, it's much easier to see this time. So aftermath of the battle, 8,500 casualties, 964 dead, Union and Confederate. Significantly more Union than Confederate, but the Unions have more to give than the Confederates outnumbered 3-1. Farms, barns, railways destroyed here. Not able to help the Confederate war effort in the winter of 1864 and the spring of 1865 until Lee surrenders his army in April.
What happened to the guy? Where did they?
Great question. So So they were buried everywhere until the 1880s or 90s when the National Cemetery was in Winchester.
Okay.
So all of them were re-exhumed and dug up and moved to the National Cemetery in Winchester downtown. I'm sure you guys have been there, been past it. Really beautiful. They do wreaths across America there in December, and they put all the wreaths there. So it's really moving, but they were buried around here first, you know. The wealthy, of course, shipped home. You know, any Confederate that fought here in 1864 was a hardened veteran by that time. They had seen so much combat, and if they could afford them, they were. But others, of course, were buried haphazardly in a rush, or if they could get them home. Great question. So this increased pressure after the battle on Petersburg, tighten the noose, war's over. Just do some quick math, 7 months after this. Jubal Early wasn't replaced right away, but eventually he was. General Sheridan leads to his promotion, and a lot of good things for him and Custer. And they do well. There's great books written on the battlefield. The Guns of Cedar Creek by Tom Lewis is a really deep one, like this thick. Medals of Honor were given here. Vermont, state of Vermont, they call it the Cedar Creek Room. So where the government of Vermont, the state legislature meets, the Cedar Creek Room. And I told you their only state of Vermont sign is outside of Vermont is up here. What does the future look like? Talked about the project you saw about some of the wins. There's another house being restored in town. It's called the Miller House. The Millers had mills all along Meadowbrook, and it was here during the battle. And they had a lot of the property that you read about, the bill that we preserved. They had a lot of the land in town. And so that house is being renovated by the Shenandoah Valley Battlefield Foundation. Rich guy out of Middleburg is doing it. Got his name, I just wanted to say it because we're so thankful, but he's pumping like $500,000.
Yeah, I saw his. He gave a speech, I think, didn't he? At the last annual meeting, talking about how he's brought there, and
yeah, he's a champion horse rider, steeplechase. Just forgot his name. Anyways, he's doing a lot for the Miller House, so that's getting restored. That'll get open to the public. A lot of brick houses down this way. You'll see nobody lives there. It's because the National Park owns them, and they're shut down right now. So normally there'd be tours all over this week, but they're shut down. So we're trying our best to fill that gap of giving tours to the community this week and allowing people onto the battlefield. So still a working farm. The Brumback family owns it. They used to farm Bell Grove. If you go to some of the farmers markets, you'll see Brumback apple crates. That's that family. So Clay Brumback, they've been farming this, their whole family, since the 1920s, you know.
So, but they don't own the land, they just own the cattle, right?
Yes, we own the land. Cedar Creek Battlefield Foundation, we do. And we allowed to farm that out to keep that history. Gives us a little bit of revenue. He bush hogged this before the reenactment. So it's a relationship, it's a working farm. There's some good to it. The bad is it's not open to the public like every other battlefield is. And you gotta be something special to happen for you to see the heater. So tons of projects going on, different park partners working. So the future is bright. For every article you hear about a truck dealership or a Sheetz or a Wawa, there's good things going on and people trying. It's just the cost of fundraising land is really super hard. There's a lot of noble nonprofits that do great work, and I'd say fundraising for land for battlefield is kind of tougher. It's easy to fundraise for, Blue Ridge Wildlife Center who fixes a turtle shell or a frog's leg, or, or the SPCA. There's causes that are easier and harder to fundraise, and the amount of donors that support Civil War preservation is usually this here. The amount for those other things is higher. So tremendous development pressure. One of the fastest growing county in Virginia. Secret's out, right? People in the city want a yard. And they can sell up there for $1 million in Gainesville, Haymarket, Manassas. They can buy out here for $400,000, $500,000. So this week, what this looks like, we have about 2,000 reenactors. Last year was a big year. It was our 160th anniversary. The peak years bring a lot more people, 5 and 10 years. So this is about 2,000 reenactors. There'll be Yankees and Confederates. A lot of the Yankees come from the north, a lot of the Confederates come from the south. Sometimes it's a little mixture of both, but they have commands, and they usually do this a couple times a year at different locations. This is one of the bigger reenactments. I ran into a reenactor. The other parties, a lot of them, this is for them is great because it's on original ground.
Yeah.
A lot of national parks and the others, they don't allow reenactments. So this is kind of very quaint for a lot of people. What you see set up is the sutlers. They sell period wares. This is their full-time jobs. So during the winter, they're making and sewing jackets and clothes and haversacks and leather gear. So it's their jobs. So they get here super early because they want to be fully set up when the reenactors start to ride. And when the spectators start to ride. We'll have about 20 sutlers here selling period wares. And that's their way of life. So we have food vendors. Great opportunity for the public to see how the cannon works, how cavalry commands are, to see the horses, to see the scale reenactment. Has anybody been before here? Yeah, good, great. Good weather Saturday, good weather Sunday, but chance of rain is 50%. Temperatures this weekend can be anywhere from 75 to 35. We did about 7 minutes back actually. But it's kind of indulgent this weekend. The weather changes typically this third weekend. Path right here. Watch this spot right here. Get through this. Great question. She asked how much it costs to put on the reenactment. We've tried to focus more on sponsorships and landing donors and supporters to take the pressure off reenactors and spectators. Our most generous donor is the quarry, Carmuse. They gave us $5K. They get a bad rap. This looks beautiful from here, but the aerial's like, whoa, because of how deep their quarries are, you know? And so this is a huge limestone area. That's why you see all the rocks. That's why it's here. This is one of the biggest tracts of limestone. That's why it's so critical for them. They're a Belgian company, Carmuse. So we're focusing on donations and sponsors and things like that to help offset the cost. The biggest cost are Johnny Blues. We have 50 Johnny Blues here, and they get cleaned on Saturday night so that they're clean for Sunday. So Johnny Blues is a big expensive. Sound is because of how vast this is, and it's always windy here. When you drive by here, we have to replace these flags like 4 or 5 times a year because they're always just whipping in wind. And that's because there's no houses here. It's straight off of this mountain, and it's just always wind and wind and wind down here. And that's why that house is down in that hollow right there to help protect that a little bit. So, and set up on top of it. Costs 10, 12, 15K. Firewood is expensive. We have cords and cords. We have 18-wheelers that come and do firewood. That's our third biggest cost. We have water, fresh water. That's negligible, but it's. You guys know our history about the pipe bomb too. A real pipe bomb was planted here by somebody, you know, who believed that who had some issues with personalities here. It wasn't politically related, actually. It was you know, and there is some of that in the reenactment world. People think all Confederates are the reenactors are bad people. They're not. They're good people who have a passion for history. Just like any Hollywood movie has to have bad people and good people. You know, these are good people, but somebody has to be the bad guy. So there is a little bit of that, but we had a real pipe bomb here, so security has been a major issue. So we have metal detectors that are here. We have a huge police presence. They're here 24/7. So security costs. We have extensive security costs because we can't have that happen again. We can't have a guy from a pipe bomb in here, you know, or have somebody with political tensions, or you know, to try to make a statement here. So security, big cost. Johnny Blues, sound, have to have sound because of you know, we could have 3,000 spectators here very easily, and you know, you need some PA down there and PA down here because it's so big, and the battle's loud too. So you gotta have good sound. Johnny Blues, firewood, water, event insurance too. As you can imagine, firing a musket at each other. Insurance companies kind of, you know, like you know, firing cannons, you know. So insurance. So those are the costs of it, and that's why they're getting less and less. Our second closest one was Newmont, and they said, you know, it had gotten so hard because if it rains, if you don't get a sponsor, it's like there's no profit margin. So.
Are you all the closest ones?
Oh yeah, we're the biggest, most significant on the East Coast, but they're getting rarer and rarer and rarer, and I think that this may be a pendulum, right? And less reenactments, more tourists. So I'm a Revolutionary War reenactor too, and we have one at Mount Vernon. Even though there's no battle fought there, they recreate that there in May, and they have tens of thousands of tourists because they're so rare, and people want to see a Revolutionary War reenactor. So there's 500 reenactors because it's not as popular as Civil War. The kit's more expensive, but there's more tourists. So that might be the way of the future. It also is, you know, kids, they're playing video games now. They're not really doing this stuff, and also it's expensive. This kit is a G, right? The gun, the leather, the hat, you know, that's $1,000, you know. So that's prohibitive, and then the older cats are retiring, nobody's replacing. The hobby's also getting fragmented by hardcore people who would say this button needs to be hand sewn. You know,
joint counts wrong.
Yeah, there's hardcore people and there's part timers. The reenactment community very much like a fire hall or a men's softball team, gossipy, drama, and segment. You know, so we're trying to heal those and make sure everybody has a path to come out here and play for a weekend and get along. And the hardcore people can camp out here without tents and be barefoot and be happy. And the part-timers like me can come out here and go to sleep in Middletown at night. you know, so we're just trying home. Yeah, I live a half mile, you know, a quarter mile. So, you know, it's just, you got to find a way. It's such a small hobby. You got to try to get everybody together. So that's the cost. That's the breakdown. It's our biggest, huge. It's like 80% of our income. You know, so we've got one employee who keeps the museum open. We use that to try to do programs and stuff throughout the year and do different things. We apply for grants and look for sponsorships. But reenactment obviously critical to our operation. There'll be a ball here for the reenactors Saturday night at Big Ten. It's really pretty to see. Food vendors, great security, speakers all day, Saturday and Sunday, experts in their field, talking about different things, medics, and signal corps. That's really cool to see. Signal knob is called that because of that. The Confederates had people up there throughout the war watching the Yankees move through the valley, and they could signal from there down Massanutten Mountain to Harrisonburg to Richmond, and messages could be delivered to Richmond within like hours.
So were like people like placed at
with flags waving, so it could get to the War Department of Richmond and they could make command decisions within hours actually. So that was like their pre-Morse code, you know, it's faster than running the mail. You can move that. So signal knob is called that, and that's where the plans and tactics.
Close.
They were up there. It took the Yankees a long time to figure out how does the South know where we're moving, how do they know what we're doing, you know, but they were up there watching throughout the
so they won't know exactly how many come out of the vehicle ticket them all.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You see
like
Monte
we did
Vista,
in
there's a good
Florida.
look at it there on the side.
Because before you come down the cave, did you? I don't think
know.
so.
I don't know.
I don't remember last year.
How big is that hole?
Huh?
How big is that hole?
I mean, humongous. I mean, there's only 2 people that live there. And the problem is they're in their 70s, and and they have 2 kids, and neither of them want it. But you almost have to be a millionaire to own the home to keep up with it, right? Like, the repairs, they put an elevator in there, you know.
Oh, wow.
So like,
That's big.
so like, I think that's why she wanted to get the zoning changed to protect it, so that her kids wouldn't mess this up and sell it to somebody who hey, I want to buy it for a house, but I'm actually a developer. I'm gonna tear it down and put something commercial, you know. So I think they're worried about that. We have a small board of directors. There's 9 people. Our employee is Pat Spuho, longtime employee. He retired but came back. We're training his sidekick, potential replacement, Bruce Tickles. Both have extensive Civil War experience. But, we work well with the other partners. We're really trying to celebrate their win when they preserve something, because we can't do it all. And with one event a year, I'm sure you imagine you can't get much of a loan, right? So we got to be careful. So we got to really all work together. And you know, the plantation tour is great. The National Park Service tours are great. Shenandoah Valley Battlefield Foundation, their stuff is really good. So I want you to know Middletown is pretty well protected here. 2,100 acres. We're adding more. And ideally, when the government gets up and back and running, you know, in a couple years go by, you'll see some of these brick homes go down, and it'll be kind of quieter on this end of the county, which would be nice, I think, for a lot of people. So, any questions?
What's sort of interesting is when you do look at the map,
Yeah.
you see all the parcels and who owns where, or driving down the back roads and you see Shenandoah Battle here, American Battle Trust there.
I have a great map here that can show you all that, and that I use to tell people this story. Of course, it's not the first thing on my list. Right here. So you guys see here, everything in color is preserved. The light tan is not.
Mm-hmm.
So you see why it's complicated. There's different colors. That's different organizations. So blue is the town of Middletown. We've got 40 acres preserved. The green is the National Park Service. The yellow is the National Trust for Historic Preservation, so Bell Grove. The purple is Shenandoah Valley Battlefields Foundation. So you see they're a major player here. They have like 1,000 acres of it. The light brown is us, Cedar Creek Battlefield Foundation. So we're the smallest, but we're pretty mighty. You know, we got 385 acres preserved. So thank you guys. It was a pleasure. Thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed your tour. And I'm very thankful for that. And we'll look to do this every year. We're trying to differentiate ourselves. Hopefully next year you come back, we'll have more stories to tell. If you guys are bored this week, come out to the reenactments.
Oh, we'll be here.
I'm very, very, very thankful for you guys, and stay tuned. We got on Facebook, Cedar Creek Battlefield Foundation, and try to put updates and stuff. So.